The false promises of annuities. Ooh, this guy's making a case for an annuity. He doesn't even realize it. This is going to be fun. So let's dive right into this. One of y'all had sent this to me today. It's an old article from 2012. It doesn't matter. So we're going to talk about it right here. David John Marotta. I had thought there's a guy I thought was a similar name on Advisor Perspectives, but it's not the same guy. So I'm not familiar with David John Marotta. He's out of Marotta. I think he's out of Charlottesville, Virginia. I don't know the first thing about him, but I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything, but we're going to dive into this, and he makes a strong case for annuities, even though he thinks he's not. The guarantee of a diminishing lifestyle with inflation, and 100%, he's right here. He's basically saying, look, this is your income, the first part of when you first annuitize, and then it slowly declines due to purchasing power losses with inflation. We're going to talk about this because he makes a fundamental mistake that a lot of people do. But that makes sense. I mean, literally, you have a larger purchasing power, but because annuities are fixed, you should not buy an inflation indexed annuity because they're way too expensive. You're going to have less purchasing power as inflation kicks in. But we're going to talk about that. All right. Ever popular annuities sometimes sound too good to be true, which itself is probably a good reason to avoid them. Not bad. No. That's stupid. Just because it sounds too good to be true, it depends on who is saying it's too good to be true. You, David, who doesn't like annuities now. Commission-based advisors with insurance licenses sell you whatever form of annuity performed best over the last decade. See, I don't like that. That's a silly thing to say. Have you interviewed all the commission-based advisors with insurance licenses? No, you haven't. So you just don't do that. That's beneath us in this business to sit there and say those guys are bad. Good. It's kind of like why I can't stand the fiduciary people, man. They're like, I'm a fiduciary. All these other guys are commission-based people with insurance licenses. Oh, that drives me crazy. I hate that crap. All right. They say if you are confused by these distinctions of fee-based or whatever, then 93% of the financial services world who can't call themselves fee only are doing their jobs well. You do well when you. Yeah, so here he's talking up the fiduciary thing. You do well when you remember that fee basis. Oh, okay, whatever. That's stupid. All right, so let's see. Here's a fixed annuity, or an immediate annuity. He calls immediate fixed annuity, where he's going to skip the fixed and says immediate annuity. This type of annuity receives a fair amount of seemingly scholarly press trying to justify including this product as a balanced portfolio. And it's true. A lot of professors out there, academics, even some well-known economists, and probably some with Nobel Prizes. I don't care. Nobel Prize, Schmobel Prize. It matters not to me. So don't be like, oh my goodness, a Nobel Prize winner. Like Krugman probably thinks a fixed annuity is good. Schiller probably does. I could care less, and you should care less as well. It matters not to me. It matters what it does for you specifically, regardless of what some academic says. Don't forget, lots of Nobel Prize winners, man. LTCM, and I was just reading another one. People on Nobel won Nobel Prizes in economics or business, and they had their hedge fund collapses. I forgot what it was, but I can't remember. All right, let's keep going. All right, so here's Martha and Thomas Jefferson. They're 64 and 62. They purchase an annuity that will pay them a guaranteed 6% annual return. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. If they had $500,000, they would receive $30,000 a year for the rest of their lives. This income added to their Social Security would comprise the spending for their lifestyle. Let's see. The annuity does not have a 6% rate of return, though, even if the Jeffersons lived forever. Buying an annuity begins with the immediate loss of your $100,000 original investment. Well, that's somewhat is true. You're turning that over is irrevocable. You don't have access to the principal. That's a fact. You have access to the income stream. You call it a loss, maybe, but okay, we'll go with that. So buying an annuity begins with immediate loss of your $100,000. Right? So if of the 100% of your original investment. So for the first 15 years, the annuity company is simply giving you back your original purchase. That's 100%. 100%. It usually takes about 15 years to break even. Absolutely. The way most salespeople describe thinking about the annuity discourages investors from realizing that their original money is gone forever. They do this by referring to it as an investment. Okay, whatever. The entire selling point of the annuity is a lower return in exchange for a guarantee. Ooh, we want to go down this road there? What's this guy's name? David? The entire selling point of the annuity is a lower return for an exchange for a guarantee. But when analyzed, the purchase price is a loss you can never recover from. We can analyze this new annuity purchase using an IRR, internal rate of return. For the first 15 years, the IRR is zero because the annuity company simply is giving your money back. It's 100%. I do not have any qualm with that at all. He's 100% correct. In this case, we got 30,000 bucks a year times 15. That's 30,000. Yeah, no, it's actually going to take 16 years to get your money back. 30,000 times 500,000 divided by 30. Yeah, 15. Okay, he's right. So it takes 15 years before you're in the black. All right. But it's not a loss. You're still getting your money back. So that's a little bit misleading to say it's a loss. You haven't lost your money. You're just getting it back piecemeal. Doesn't mean you're making any money on it, but you're getting it back. If Tom and Martha died after 16 years, the IRR would be 0.92%. They would have made literally $30,000 over 16 years on a $500,000 investment. That's important to understand. So they put $500,000 in. They get their $500,000 back after 15 years, and then in year 16, that's when they're in the black. If they die that year, they're getting a less than 1% IRR, rate of return. That's not debatable. He's 100% correct there. If they live to age 85, after 23 years, the annuity IRR would have risen to 3.47. See, now we're getting someplace. The annuity is more profitable the longer you live. You see? Because your IRR after year 15 is 0. Your IRR after year 16 is 0.92. Then it starts getting progressively more until even this guy said right here. If they live till 85, they'd have a 3.47% IRR. So basically that would be, how old are these guys? They're 64 and 62. So Martha would have lived 23 years. So she would have had 7 years at $30,000 a year of cash money. That's above and beyond what her initial investment was. So that's $210,000. She would have made $210,000 on a $500,000 investment, guaranteed. Okay, not too shabby. If they both lived to 100, the IRR would still only be 5.57. Okay, well, again, see, you're getting a higher IRR the longer you live. It's literally longevity insurance, without question. I get a better rate of return the longer you live. That's a fact. I hope that makes sense. We call these mortality credits. What happens is people who die early subsidize the people who die later. And if you're dead early, you don't care what your IRR is because you're dead. I'm sorry to say you're dead. You don't care. If you die later, though, you care because you're still living and you need that money to come through. All right, so that's he's making the case for the annuities right here, especially if you're healthy. The longer lived. Did I cut myself by shaving up here? Looks like I did. I was trying to shave my eyebrows a little bit. I was thinking about it. All right. Annuities are not indexed for inflation. They can be, but you shouldn't get one that's indexed for inflation. Part of their appeal is having some stream of guaranteed spendable income, but guaranteed to buy what? And this is where this guy makes a fundamental mistake. We got a fixed payment of $30,000. That payment is fixed, okay? Whose buying power diminishes by inflation each year. And how's he measuring inflation? The CPI. Oh my goodness, we're going back to this again. The CPI. Why would you measure inflation for retirees with the CPI? The CPI was at 45% for CPIE, which is CPI for the elderly, is housing cost. And the bulk of that is for shelter, which includes rent, and you're not renting, most of us, and OER, owner's equivalent rent. You're not paying for that either. It's basically how much it costs to rent the house to yourself. So why would you use CPI as an inflation measure for retirees? It doesn't make sense. This guy doesn't get it. He's saying, look, according to the Consumer Price Index, again, using that for inflation, $5,000 in 1970 had the same buying power as $30,000 today. Imagine if your future retirement needs guaranteed in 1970 by buying an immediate annuity, paying $5,000. Okay, now check this out. So 1970, he wrote this article in 2012, did he not? Yes, 42 years, all right? So his $5,000, his $30,000 is now only going to buy $5,000 that in 2012. All right. But now we take it back and look at the IRR on that annuity for 42 years. So let's check it out. IRR, 5.31. That ain't too shabby, dudes. That ain't too shabby at all. Now you might argue, which I think is silly, that your $30,000 is only buying you $5,000 42 years later. Huh. But we also got a 5.3 internal rate of return. Huh. That changes a little bit perspective, doesn't it? Yes, it does, because we're getting that 5.3 guaranteed that as long as we live. So you're like, well, could I have done better in a different kind of account with a whole lot more risk? Sure. You could also have done a whole lot worse. You see what I'm saying? Where you might not even have that $30,000 a year guaranteed. All right, now let's keep it checking out too, because don't forget, it's using basic CPI, and it's just stupid to use basic CPI here. I hate that crap, which I'm writing my book. The only real guarantee of an annuity is a diminishing lifestyle because of inflation. We use a 4.5% average rate of inflation. That was in 2012. What does CPI do? Let's take a look. For $2,013, and we're going to say 2012 to 2023. We're going to go to a full list of CPI categories, and we're going to do the, let's see, all items right there. All right, and we're going to do 2012 to 2023. We had an inflation of 2.46% a year. A little bit more than half of what this guy was saying. Yeah, oops, right here. A little bit more than half what this guy was saying. Yeah. So if he's using 4.5, and that's way hot relative to what we had over these last 11 years, then that's a problem, right? All right, so of course, if we're using a 4.5% inflation, it's going to make CPI, it's going to make the numbers look worse for the annuity. But it gets even worse, though. Annuities offer too much income to spend early in retirement, only to keep that number constant and offer too little later in life. Whoa. You see what we're doing here? Annuities offer too much income in the front end of retirement to have less income left later in life when you adjust for inflation. And I actually agree with that. I don't disagree with that in the least. But check this out. We would suggest a safe spending rate for people with $500,000 is only 4.17% a year, which will limit their annual safe spending to $21,000. That's basically what's that? So basically, annuity is giving you 50% more spending money, at least on the first front end of your retirement, than what this guy would do. And there's no guarantee that this is, he's using a 4% rule, which is, again, just dumb. Because it assumes what? It assumes your spending goes up each and every year with the inflation. Where is the evidence? It doesn't exist. What happens? Your spending does what? It might go up the first couple years, and then it starts dropping. Why? Because you don't do as much stuff. I guarantee you, you know people just like that. Your parents, your grandparents, Mrs. Smith next door, Ruth and Victor, who we used to live next to, Larry and Anna Lee, who we used to live next to, Rosemary and Joe, who we used to live next to, all old people. They just didn't do very much. Ruth and Victor enjoyed going to Pizza Hut for, they used to have a Pizza Hut freaking buffet. They used to like going down to. We go sit out there on the front porch. Victor had this little thing where he tied up to his mailbox where he could pull the string and make the mailbox open up. And Maddie was a kid. She used to love that. Their little riding lawnmower, zero-turn tractors. Maddie would get on with Victor and go, mowing their yard. Freaking have a great old time, man. Great old time. They liked watching Wheel of Fortune. Maddie would go over there and watch Wheel of Fortune with them. And to this day, Maddie still loves Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. Freaking love those guys. God bless Ruth and Victor, Heavenly Father. Larry and Anna Lee next to us. They had raised corn, raised all kinds of stuff. They had more freaking vegetables than they knew what to do with. They give it to us. They let me borrow Larry's lawnmower so I could mow when mine broke down. I couldn't fix it timely enough. Freaking, they used to have they used to get half a cow every year from a Mennonite farmer. This is when we lived in Shenandoah Valley. Joe and Rosemary is when we lived in Texas, same kind of thing. They used to love hearing the kids. Anyway, the point being is when you get older, you just don't spend that much. And so what this guy's doing, this guy's saying basically, Tom and Martha, retain your spending on the front end of your retirement when you're young and healthy enough to enjoy it. That way we'll have enough later on when you're 85. You might not be around by then, but if we do, we'll have enough. And you're like, well, based on what evidence? Well, because we're using a 4.5% inflation rate. Okay, again, based on what evidence? Well, you're going to spend, your spending is going to go up each and every year with a 4.5% inflation rate. Based on what evidence? 4% rule. Based on what evidence? Hammer this home. Based on what evidence? Based on what evidence? Based on what evidence? They're always going to say the same thing. Well, what if you need long-term care nursing home? So basically, that is your evidence. What if? Your evidence of me spending less on the front end of my retirement when I'm young and healthy and can enjoy it is what if? What if I die tomorrow there, guy? See what I'm saying? See how absurd this is? What if? Huh? It's crazy. So this guy states my claim exactly. You're going to spend more money on the front end of retirement, and the annuity allows you to do that. But with an appropriate asset allocation and this rate of spending, the Jeffersons would have a good chance most years to enjoy increasing their spending allowance. Wow, yeah, we go from friggin' 21,000 to 22,000. Woohoo! Whereas Martha, well, I guess we already called her Martha, Missy and John over here are friggin' spending 30,000 a year the first 10 years. And any unused assets can be left as an inheritance to the heirs. Finally, I've used the example of 6%, but the best quote I was given was a sample couple was $27,000, and the quote was annuity tied the urban consumer version of CPI. What? And the quote, oh yeah, see this, he does say right here the index ones are way low. Don't do an index annuity. We don't recommend an allocation for annuities for any portion of your portfolio, and well, because if we don't get paid on it, I guarantee he's going to say a fee-only comprehensive financial planner. Oh, my parents started their own firm during the early days of NAFA. All right, so he's on his parents' firm. No, look, I got no qualm. I just that happens quite a bit. It's just this silly stuff here, man. And I guarantee if you looked at his website, he's talking with fiduciary this, fiduciary that. Hate that crap. Hate it. Anyway, so we just debunked this argument here, 100%. We debunked it. And now the interest rates are much higher. And by the way, as you get older, the annuities pay more as well. Anyway, I love to hear your thoughts. I hope this helps. Don't fall for the negative hype on annuities. That doesn't mean everyone should buy them. I could care less what academics say. They play a role. Does they play a role in everybody's position? I don't know. Something you decide of. But if you're not even thinking about it, I think you're making a horrible mistake. Don't make mistakes. Just look and do some research. All right, we'll see you.